So for anyone who hasn't seen it here, you'll see the show linked in the show description here. I did a quick free agent primer a week and a half ago, and then last week we had Cowan, Chris Trapasso, David Tilton were all on with me. We did our salary cap extravaganza. They did a great job. And we were very reasonable. We did not do a lot of different crazy things. We didn't have any wacky, unreasonable trades or crazy moves that wouldn't happen. We, restructured the top 2 or 3 guys with Josh, Spencer Brown, maybe Ed Oliver, Deion Dawkins, like one of the 2, but 3 out of those 4, cutting Curtis Samuel, cutting, a couple other guys, maybe some tough ones. We'll see on Taylor Rapp. We'll see on Ty Johnson, some guys that are probably going to get paid a little bit more than what they would get, but also have value on the team.
Sure.
Pay cuts, but keeping Taron Johnson and Dawson Knox, but probably cutting back the compensation a little bit. And that was it. Like nothing crazy, not a lot of, out of left field moves. We did talk about some different things, guys you could trade.
You didn't trade Deion for a second round.
If you got a really good offer, heck, we talked about Gregory Rousseau and Ed Oliver and Deion Dawkins, and I opened up the fact that when you have this big of a change, everyone not named possible. Josh Allen is on the table. Everything is possible. Sure. I don't think we're going to see wild and wacky moves like that, but we have to be open to the fact that there could be surprises.
Absolutely.
All those things said, doing those moves with no surprises, no crazy wacky moves, we went from $6 to $10 million over, which is depending on whether you're looking at the full 53-man roster or the rule of 51 in the offseason, which is a whole separate thing you can see me explain on that show. We got it to $40 million in cap space, right. $39,700,000.
Yeah.
Which is a full, totally regular offseason. So, and we had like another coupon if you wanted to flip the switch on Deion, some other things they could do. There was actually we didn't even touch Christian Benford and Khalil Shakir and James Cook, which you could mess with theirs too. There's more. So if you had a chance for, God forbid, a Justin Jefferson or something like that truly became available and you needed big money, you could go do that. There is no move that is off the table that the Buffalo Bills can't do. They just probably can only do one splurge thing.
But explain for the people like maybe me that by saying that, right, like pulling those levers is you're getting into the void year worlds where that is payment still. You're just spreading out. You're paying a little bit up front and spreading out the remainder over more years. So it's for like certain players as they're getting into their 30s, those are probably players you're going to be paying not to play at some point.
Unfortunately, that did lead to some uncomfortable positions. I believe the highly technical term that I used was things to be furious about. I'm pretty sure that's what we called it.
Yeah.
And you look at contracts from last year, Joey Bosa, Matt Milano, Larry Ogunjobi, Daquan Jones, there's 6 of them, Connor McGovern, I can't remember, there's one more, where we had them last year, but we paid them cash last year, but we only accounted for so much cap. Those 6 guys, just those 6 guys,
right.
We used $32 million of this year's cap to have them on last year's team.
Right.
So every time we want to do a restructure or we want to sign a guy for a big amount of money, but shrink it down and use the cap tricks that I know how to use to make them fit into this year's cap, just know that if it doesn't work out, it looks really ugly next year.
AJ would not have the other guy cared about any of those if the Bills went on a Super Bowl run.
If you have a trophy.
Correct. Yeah, when you end up here, when you post that tweet, looks that makes you mad. And that's where I think like Mike Catalana made a point. The Bills cap situation isn't because of Josh Allen's contract, which I don't agree with. It is part of is that contract, which they can play with, but it's the Josh Palmers. And it's like, yeah, in hindsight, that's easy to say that like the guy that you give $12 million to doesn't work out. But that is like, they're going to go get another wide receiver this year for $12 million. And there's as good of a chance that he doesn't work out. Also, here,
when the move
is free agency.
When the move, here, I'll give you a real recent one. When the signing is Joey Bosa, you're frustrated. When the signing is DeMarcus Lawrence, it looks awesome because he's the huge factor in you winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
DeMarcus Lawrence was a big signing for the Seattle Seahawks. And, you go into those situations where now all of a sudden you're trying to figure out where it goes. And he signed for almost the exact same amount of money that Joey Bosa signed for, and it worked out awesome for the Seahawks, and it didn't work out for us. And Bosa was fine. He was a fine player. He wasn't exceptional. He didn't exceed his value, but he was fine. And DeMarcus Lawrence was a hit. And, Josh Palmer was a whiff, and Rashid Shaheed was a hit for them. And, just moves like that where, we make a move and add, Ogunjobi or Michael Hoyt gets hurt and Leonard Williams plays great for them.
Sure.
And those are the moves that are there. That Max Harrison comes in and is a nice player, and Nick Emenwari is like a movable chess piece that unlocks their defense. And
one got hurt, one did stayed healthy.
Correct.
I think Harrison is more than a nice player by the end of the year if he never gets hurt.
You're going to hear me talk about this multiple times with some players we're about to talk about in a minute. Those guys aren't going to be on the team because players that Brandon Beane drafted, we're going to find out if they can play. There's going to be a whole bunch of them that right, wrong, or indifferent, whether it turns out or not, we're going to find out if they can play because they're about to play.
Yeah, because there's definitely going to be some guys that are leaving. But even on some of these guys, I just urge people when you're playing with these GM tools and stuff like that, it is enticing to just shave off an extra couple million this year. But then you do have to go look. Like if it's some of these guys that maybe you're not that high on and you think the contract's bad on, it might not make sense to want to pay more on that contract later, right? Like you really want to pick and choose these moves and really be sold that this is going to be a guy that's probably part of the team so that while you're paying them, they're still part of contributing to what you're trying to do. I just think we talk about these tools as though they're just easy buttons, but there's a consequence to each tool.
Yeah. Spot on. So all that said, go check out the salary cap extravaganza and all the fun we had there. The Too Long Didn't Read version, we're fine. We're going to have enough money to work with. And all the guys we kicked out cans down the road are Spencer Brown, Josh Allen, guys who are going to be on this team long term.
On that 39 million, what is your one last point here as we prep into the free agency process? What is the actual amount of free agency money? Because we need draft money, right? So he wants a buffer going in. We know Beane's going to keep that buffer.
I would say usable money to spend is 25 million. I think 25 million is a healthy number to look at. And always remember, this is not a Buffalo Bills thing. Every team, short of Cleveland Browns, when they have 150 million in cap space and need to soak up early first year cap hit.
Right.
29 other teams are going to have, look at whatever you think the average annual value is and do 60% of that. So if it's a $10 million per year player, assume your first year cap hit's going to be $66 million. Some teams go lower. You can sometimes go less than half. Sometimes it can even be a third of the money, especially bigger contracts.
Sure.
But just a safe rule of thumb, use about 60% of what you think their average annual value is. So if you do that in reverse and you look at that 25 million from an average annual value standpoint, that's back to the 40 million. So if you just use that as, that's one $10 million guy and a $6 million guy and a 4 and another 6 and another 4, that's 30 million. That's actually fine because you're not going to actually pay all of that up front in the first year cap. So for most fans, the way that they're going to look at players' contracts, if you estimate what they're going to make, assume we can use all 40 million as the available space because we'll actually use about 25 million of that to sign the players.